Well, hello, lovely listeners. Welcome, viewers. Today I have a returning guest, Stephanie Corlise, also known as Chava Wild Roots. Stephanie is, when she was originally on, she was all about empowering women and still is, by the way, but was very much into her coaching, but also plant medicine. Her journey has evolved over the last couple of years. She's now a mum to a 1.5 year old. Her roots, she feels like her roots are very much coming back, and that's very much grounded in plant medicine. Currently residing in Portugal, and you can see her beautiful backdrop, and she's just informed me the sea is just to the right of her. Not envious at all. And she's been on a journey really over the last couple of years, which I think a lot of us in the truth betterment movement, call it what you want, have all found ourselves in. It's almost like we were on a trajectory, whether it be in the corporate world or in a different way or whatever. And then, as we know, 2020 hit and it changed the trajectory for a lot of people. But certainly, people that are very spiritually inclined, people that feel the truth and knowing. It's like, oh, so you're not going to be a millionaire then, Mel. This is actually what you're going to do. You're going to fight for people's rights and bring down a corrupt system. Okay, all right, got ya. And that's pretty much what Stephanie's doing. She's figuring it all out as she goes along. And you mentioned about facing your shadows as well, which I think a lot of people are. But you're very much into the psilocybin. You do the microdosing. You can take people on psychedelic journeys. You have got a platform for empowering women called Momentum Collective, and you've just moved again in Portugal. And you were saying just as I hit record, you were saying, when you physically move location or whatever it might be, if you have been stagnant for a while, the energy within you starts to move, right? And it can bring up all sorts of things. So I think this is going to be quite an interesting conversation, but very much, based in what's been happening for us on an individual basis over the last 2 to 3 years. So welcome, Stephanie. It's a pleasure to have you back. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I'm super excited to be on again.
Yes, yes, because the last couple of times you had teething issues, not your teeth, obviously. And then you were moving and there was all this stuff going on. So here we are.
Here
Um,
we are.
Here we are. So I would like just a brief bit of your backstory again, because obviously people that want to know more about Stephanie's backstory, which, does involve a lot of trauma and that sort of thing, that I will put a link into the previous podcast so you can dig into that when you've got some time. But if you just want to give us a sort of a brief backstory, and I'm really keen to know, because I don't think we talked about this on the last one, how you sort of came about to knowing what was going on with all the bullshit. Were you aware of it way before 2020, or was that your sort of like boom, like a lot of people? And then obviously we'll talk into more about the recent events and what's been going on for you personally. So welcome and over to you. Oh, before I keep forgetting this. Please like, comment, share, subscribe. My wonderful followers. It's the only way I can grow this channel organically. And if you're feeling flush, because I don't get monetized, it's buy me a coffee/Mel Clark. Back to you.
Love that. Amazing that you speak out on that. Yeah, so to just take it back to the moment where I felt like, what am I doing with my life, right? I think that was back in 2027 when I was in the Netherlands, and I was in the Netherlands for all that time. And I did travel quite a bit, and I lived in Spain, and always like a bit of a travel bug in me. And then I decided to move. Actually, I was 27 and I had this, I had a good job, I had a cat, motorcycle, house, like I had everything, right?
You've said 27 twice. I think you mean 17.
No, 27.
Oh, when you were 27.
When I was 27, yeah,
Sorry,
yeah,
I
yeah.
thought you said
Yeah.
2027. I was like,
No, no, no.
you're jumping
Yeah, no, no, no.
timelines.
No, no,
Yeah.
no. When I was 27. And anyway, so in that I had quit my job and I had decided I'm gonna just get rid of everything and I'm gonna go with my backpack, being 27, I'm gonna go out into the world. And I went to Australia. And I ended up living there for like 8 years. And which is amazing because it really allowed me to sort of step away from the box that I was in for so long to really objectively look at that from a distance and be like, okay, that's who I thought I was according to all the structures and the programming and da 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 da. Da. But I don't resonate with that though. Like, who am I really? And that sort of led me down to the whole, yeah, plant medicine journey because I really truly feel that it grounds you so back into the earth that you start to remember who you are. And I think globally, that's what we are doing, right? Like we're just remembering who we are deep down, all the, below all the conditioning and below all the layers. And I have this quite often, and I even have it here. Like I'm walking, and then all of a sudden I have this moment of awareness where I just really realize, holy shit, like I'm in the matrix, like I'm in this system that is built around me, with all these different energies and stuff. Like, cool. I have the awareness now, like, and that's not what I want. So I want to physically take myself out of that, right? So knowing that, like after I moved to the Netherlands and I was there for a little bit and it went really well. And then I decided to go to Cyprus, and I've lived there for a little while. And then afterwards, we came to Portugal. So it's been a bit of a journey. And in that time, I've done an amazing shadow work course called the Conscious Journey, where I am deepening the connection with the plants, because that's what the plants do. Like they take you under the ground usually, like they show you the deepest and maybe the darkest parts of yourself so you can also enter the light. That's just how it works. That's the paradox. So it's a really beautiful journey actually of unfolding, and that's what it has done for me as well coming to Portugal. Like the movement of everything that was stagnant has indeed been brought to the surface, where I am now in the birth process of really figuring out yet again, like, who am I beneath the layers of conditioning? And that's a never ending process. And I feel in that, like, the more you start to see that inner truth in yourself, included all the shadows and stuff, like, the more we also see that in the external. And that's exactly what's happening now collectively, right? Like, it's a big purge, like, it's a big rebirth that we are in at the moment as a society, where there's a gigantic split and you either choose your heart or you choose the path of fear. And that's as simple as it is. That's it. And you
Yeah.
have a choice in each moment.
Just for the viewers and the listeners, Stephanie's been on an amazing journey, and you suffered abuse when you were a child, and regardless of that, some people will be a victim to that all of their lives. You didn't. You took it. You did the
Mm.
work. You forgave the people that hurt you, which is quite an ask. Because I remember when you came on last time, I was thick in trauma myself, and I was like, "Wow, how'd you do that?" But the journey that you've been on, um, when were you aware of, like, you just talked about the split there, and that's been so huge over the last few years. When did you become aware, or did you ever really focus on, the dark forces and all the rest of it? What was your sort of awakening like?
I remember when I was probably about, like, I would say maybe 16, 17, that I started to become a little bit more aware of contraception. I started to become a little bit more aware of fluoride in our water. And I started to do a little bit more research, like, each and every time. So before we entered COVID, I actually knew a lot already, a lot. And so when we entered COVID, I went down, 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 down the rabbit hole,
Yeah, yeah,
uh,
me
to the
too.
point where I literally couldn't even enjoy having a drink somewhere, because I was just so in, like, oh my God, like the darkness of this world is crazy, like
Yeah.
crazy. And so, yeah, so that's a while ago actually. And so, yeah, in COVID, um, I'm actually, like, in COVID, I feel like the unity started, it was the big bang, the awakening for a lot of us. And it's started to create a web of union and a web of people opening up, talking, coming more into the heart space, like reaching out, brotherhood, sisterhood, like we're coming back in community, back into common unity. And that is so beautiful to see right now. And I really do believe that, this internal healing process that we're going through is just what's been reflected to us, back to us in the external.
Mm.
And the only change that we can make is in our own self, and do the change there. But when I was in Australia, I was really hectic, by the way, with COVID. It was intense, I can tell you.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was in Brisbane, and someone, I don't know who it was, gave me a megaphone, like in the middle of this, you know, fuck, my body, my choice, like all this thing. And here I was in my shorts, like I had a t-shirt on, the revolution, and I was just on the top of my lungs, like in the streets of Brisbane, screaming at the top of my lungs. And it was so amazing to feel all these people in truth, like all these people that can see, the darkness, and can see the forces that are, that are sort of almost like feels like a big thick blanket sometimes that comes over us, like quite literally, with the sky stuff and every rabbit hole that you go down into. But at the same time, I truly believe that it's almost like a woof, like a concoction of like the forces, and only in this time it really matters that you keep seeing your own lights and you keep seeing the light in others and you just hold the vision, and you don't really need to know necessarily how to get there. Like that doesn't matter. You take one step and that's enough, and you take one step in the right direction and you follow what excites you. And as I was driving here, I had no idea where I was going to do this podcast. I just knew it's going to be in nature somewhere, and I just went on the road and I was like, okay, take me where I need to go. And there was a blue van. It was like, I'll follow the blue butterfly. So I followed the blue van. Oh, I feel like I need to go here. I feel like, so coming back into that feminine energy, like instead of the suppressed, masculine energy that has been so pushed upon us as a female movement. And that's not us. That's not how we naturally operate. We operate in flow and we operate in trust and we operate in listening to our bodies.
Yeah.
And yoga has been such a great, amazing part of my experience throughout all of this, that it's really allowed me to also enter the body, and I'm still on that journey because like, I think, there's an amazing, amazing lady. Her name is Dr. Shelley Prasad. And I was listening to like a podcast of her the other day, and she was sharing how we're coming back to the soul entering the body again, because the masculine energy is the head and the feminine energy is the body, and the union of the head and the body together, that makes the soul come in, like that makes the root. So it's really this process of rooting in the earth more and more to be able to reach the highest highs as well, right? Where you can actively understand, okay, if I zoom out a little bit, I understand. And this is what keeps me going, obviously, when you understand that you are on a mission here, like you are here to make an impact. You are here to make a change. And I think so many women have been so programmed to not witness that within themselves, right? Like it was the same with my birth. Like when I was pregnant, I went elbow deep down the rabbit hole. I went again in birth, and the programming that happens around birth and the programming that happens around our own body. And I had the most beautiful birth at home, fully trusting myself. I had a wild pregnancy, semi-wild pregnancy with no echoes, like just one ultrasound in the very beginning. And other than that, nothing, no testing, just fully in trust of my body. And I had a beautiful home birth experience. And
Did you have a midwife or anything?
yes, I had a midwife because in the Netherlands they are amazing and they're super pro home birth, right? So I found an amazing midwife. And yeah, it was just amazing how she was support. And I couldn't have done it without her. Like I probably could have, but like I needed support from sisterhood, like I needed someone to say, hey, you got this, like I'm here for you. You got this. And it was amazing. It was so beautiful. And she has the knowledge, and I'm really learning as well. But I think we all are doing that at the moment. Like I can honestly now sit here and say to you, hey, I know the road from A to B because I have walked it, right? But I can't sit here and say to you, hey, like I know the road from B to Z, because I don't. Like this is where you have other amazing women and also men with their genius zones, So that's really about coming back to, hey, I know my strength, I know my truth, I know what I'm good at. That's what I'm doing. That's what I'm gifting to the world. And I'm just discovering what that is over and over and over and over again as I get closer to the core of who I am.
Yeah, totally. Well, I mean, I had a midwife on recently. I don't know if you had the chance to see it. I know you've had a lot on, but she's become a bit of a whistleblower against what she witnessed and everything else. And
Mm-hmm.
she was saying that I think her second child she did as a home birth. The first birth was in hospital and it was horrific. And she had the most beautiful home birth, and that's what made her want to be a midwife. And she was like, I want to give this to other women. And then as soon as she got into the training, that's all knocked out of you, and you become so fearful of being able to be that
Yeah.
for mums because you're told that
Yeah.
that's not allowed, that's not allowed, that's not allowed.
Yeah. It's crazy.
Absolutely
It's
crazy.
so it's so and it's so interesting because when you go down deep into that rabbit hole, you'll figure out that the men that had like us laying down on our backs, for example, was back in the days because the kings wanted to know that child was really theirs. So they wanted to sit there and witness and watch it happen. Like that was the only reason why we started sort of laying on our backs. Like ridiculous. It's like it goes fully against gravity. And
Yeah.
still, you see now in so many hospitals, and I got pregnant in Portugal, sorry, in Cyprus, and that was exactly the reason why we left, because you weren't allowed a midwife at home. Like you just had to go into the hospital. And I was told by another girl that I knew that literally the baby was like pushed out using an elbow on the belly. Like, are you insane?
Oh,
You know?
wow.
So we were like, nah, that's not what we're going to do. We're going to go to the Netherlands. And there's an amazing documentary called The Business of Being Born. And it's really about America, which is like 10 times worse than what we think is worse, you know? And it's just crazy how much money they make, you know, like how, you know, the whole system is obviously created and designed for you to be in the medical system to pay your bills. You know, it's the whole rat race that we're in, right? Like the disillusion of like, okay, if I keep working, if I keep doing, I can pay the things I need to pay for because I'm held in constant survival, you know? And that's just not what life is.
How did you, because obviously you went down the rabbit holes like millions of others, including myself. How did you, because at some point you get to a point where you're like, I can't keep looking at this. This is crazy, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
And
yeah,
you have to look at the light and you have to look at solutions and you have to have hope and believe that
yeah.
all that. So what was that like for you? How did you get to that place?
I think that's been like it's a graduate process, you know. Like I think it's and it moves also. It's not linear. Like there's definitely moments where I have a really hard time and struggle, and I'm like, oh my god, like wow, it's so intense in Jesus this world, and like it's a lot, you know. We have to carry so much, and I think it's just knowing so much about energies, and I know a lot about frequencies and how that all works, and I can see I studied NLP, so I can see the programming that is actually happening, you know. So it's for me, I've been able to see through it. And because I've been able to see through it, like I have the awareness of what's going on. And when you are aware of something, you can do something about it. So for me, I've started to get really good at like understanding that, hey, I can create my reality. Hey, everything I do, I started holding myself radically responsible for everything that I'm creating in my life. Everything that includes patterns that are showing up in my relationship, that includes people showing up in my external reality that are really amazing, that are telling me, hey, that's flow. People that are showing up that I'm like, hey, that feels like stagnance, you know, like coming back into my own intuition and to really just, yeah, like take a breath, you know, like come back to who you truly are, like come back into, you know, connection with yourself. And from there, you can create. Like that's the foundation. That's the basis. That's the root. So, for example, I'm currently doing a lot of work on my root chakra. And it's really interesting because I have the feeling that Portugal is the throat chakra. Like it's really the authentic raw truth, which also means that it's the authentic raw truth towards yourself, right? And this is what I'm feeling. I'm not saying that that's the truth. I don't know. That's my truth, right? So, and it's a really beautiful process because in that you get to look at yourself in such a beautiful light and in such a, you know, raw version of yourself in all aspects and in all facets, that it's like, okay, wow, like, you know, even the parts that I had repressed for such a long time, what if I could love those parts of myself so much, you know? What if I could allow my heart to just lead me in every step of the way, even though I don't know sometimes where that leads me or where that takes me, but just the feeling of surrendering and letting go of control, that I know everything best always. I don't. And it's also not how I work. Like I am the body, I'm the heart, you know, I'm not the mind. Like
Yeah.
it, and there's a constant, like, you know, there's a lot of, you know, five, like I was thinking about it the other day with the 5G towers. Like I have moments sometimes where boosh, there's an image that shows up, boom, on my in my internal world, right? And it's horrible. It's like, huh? Like this is not mine. This is not mine. I know that this is not mine. I am not darkness. I am light. This is being put in right now, you know, and like this is how far it goes. And like we were on a little holiday, for example, in Germany, and oh my God, like the place that we were in, like I had the most horrible thoughts all the time with the awareness that I could see that, hey, but this is not mine,
Hmm.
you know. So for me, that's a big reason, like moving, you know. If you are somewhere where it is not good, then you leave.
Yeah. Easier said than done,
Of
Stephanie.
course, yeah, but of course, but it's also hard for me, you know, like, and
Yeah.
it's, you know, people always say like, oh, but you're doing it. Yeah, of course I'm doing it because I know that there is no other way. Like no one is here to save us. Let's be honest, you know,
Yeah.
we are only here to save ourselves, and we can work on our own energetic frequency to be happy. And it doesn't matter where that is. It doesn't matter what that looks like for you. Just work on getting yourself happy. What do you want? Who are you? You know, what makes you happy? And plant medicine is amazing when it comes to that because boom, it's just shoots you into a check-in with yourself, like the truth beneath the layers.
So before we get into the plant medicine part of things, what took you to, I know what made you leave Australia, because we
Hmm.
were all watching the bloody videos and just horrified, because
Yeah, yeah.
we grew up in the UK, or no, not the UK, England, um,
Hmm. Hmm.
and believing that, Australia was this golden country. My ex-husband lived out there for a few years, had the best time, and it's throw another snag on the Barbie, and that wasn't what we were seeing, right? We were seeing horrific stuff, and so I know that's what took you out. What took you to Cyprus and then on to Portugal? Why leave Cyprus to Portugal?
Well, I left Cyprus to Portugal because of the birth system there, because I really did not want to give birth
That
there.
was the only
Like,
reason you left.
wasn't that the only? No, also because like I just energetically didn't feel right in that place, even though it gave me a lot in a short period of time. Like, I just didn't feel like that was the place that I needed to be in. There's a lot of sacral energy out there, and I did go on my little sacred journey, my sacred chakra journey there, but like that was just not where I was meant to be, and I needed to do a lot of healing at home. Actually, I needed to be home with my family to support, to rebuild connections, because I had lived overseas for such a long time, and at some point you start to this illusion that hey, when I change, everything else at home also change. And sometimes you come home and you realize that, oh wow, like there's a lot that is still the same, and there's a lot that has changed and moved. And like this time around I really went back with like, I want to figure out what changed and what moved. Like, I want to reestablish the connection again with some of my really old friends and like family members, and I did, and it was so beautiful. It was so healing. Like, even with my dad, like, it's a beautiful healing relationship that we're on, and I'm super proud of myself for that. And even now he's coming over to Portugal, and I'm having really beautiful healing conversations with my mom. So it has really put something more in motion. Like, even though like I already had this spark and this fire inside of me, I think now that I'm really so aware that I'm the generational breaker of all these like shackles and cycles, and that I can be an example in that and help other people in their way, like guide them home towards themselves, because I really don't think that anyone else outside of you can do it. But you have to start seeing your own potential, and you have to start seeing what you are instead of what you're not. You have to start seeing what you can create instead of what you can't create. So it's a very different way of looking at life, and the more you are entered in your center, the more you are in the middle, in the groundedness of everything, the easier it is and the clearer you can see.
And just on that, it just dropped into my head while you were talking about the healing relationship with your dad and your mum. We know how rife abuse is in this world, right? We know how horrific it is.
Yeah, yeah.
So has it come to you? I might be overstepping the mark here, but in terms of you being well placed to be able to help some of those people.
Yeah, so currently you mean like who am I currently helping?
Well, no, in terms of, I mean, yeah, currently, but also, that we're seeing various headlines about various things, but it's still going on a massive, massive scale. And I'm just thinking, I just did a quantum leap probably in terms of your experience, what you've gone through yourself, your healing journey, your awareness, the plant medicine side of things. Is that something you've thought about in terms of that is your audience, or are you wanting to be in a different place if that is a thing?
You mean Portugal?
I mean the people that have been, horribly trafficked and people like that.
So I believe, because I have a very big yoga background as well, right? So I truly believe that everything that is happening here in this earth, in this plane of existence, is what you chose, and you made contracts before you even came here, right?
Yeah.
So what is happening is that you're on your contract, like you're always on purpose. Like, you can never not be on purpose. You just choose what timeline you operate on, right? That comes from you. You are the creator. So I really think that, even though, and like sometimes that is the detachment, I guess, that happens when you start zooming in and out a little bit, because we are so zoomed in into this like third dimension, to
Yeah.
say. I have no idea if like what I'm talking about now makes sense, but I'm on a roll. So I think it does actually make sense. And I think you're amazing.
Yeah.
That's why I'm talking about this, right? So the third dimension and then zooming out to the fifth dimension, and like when you zoom out to the fifth dimension and you can see things a little bit more for what they are, and you can understand, okay, I'm just, having this experience, in this physical plane, but I am not that.
Yeah.
Like beneath that, I am just part of consciousness, like I am part of everything and always all the time. And we just forget that. So we sort of go in and out, in and out, and in and out. And for me, what it does is when for example, I have a really beautiful relationship with Santa Maria. She is marijuana, and she really helps me to fully tune in and check in with myself, like to really come back to, okay, like who am I? Like what do I, oh, this feels so good. Like my body, I can feel my body. It really grounds me, brings me back into gratitude, like it's such a beautiful medicine also to work with. And I think at the end of the day, that's what we're doing here. Like, I had this vision one time with imagine the earth, and the earth is like rotating and spinning, right? But it goes faster and faster and faster. You have to be rooted in to not be spun off,
Yeah. Yeah.
because that's what's happening out there. It's like freaking chaos
Yeah.
sometimes, and it
Yeah.
totally depends on like what timeline or reality you want to operate on, like they talk about the old earth, right, and new earth. Like I don't know how I feel about this theory, because I believe that in this moment in time the old earth also exists. It's
Yeah.
just not the plane of existence that you're operating on, but it's very real right now.
Yeah.
So it's
Absolutely.
really about like, being that, if you have a candle, to make it very visual, with my candle I can light your candle, right? And you can light your candle with someone else's candle, and that's exactly what we're doing now. We are just lighting each other's candle, and sometimes someone needs a bit of a spark, or someone needs a bit of a kickstart, and I think we can all do that for each other, you
Definitely.
know
Yeah. Definitely.
and
And
and and
yeah, sorry.
and some of us are maybe a little bit more skilled in that now because they've researched it, or they've done some courses in it, or they've learned through their own experience, and they are at the point that is big, so yeah. And I
Yeah.
think that is the beauty about choosing to walk a certain path, is because you can be the example for whoever comes after you, and with after, I don't mean it again linear, because this I have clients that are now, for example, in the Momentum Collective, and I'm learning from them,
Yeah.
so it's not like one is better than the other. No, we all have these amazing gifts inside of ourselves that we can share, but sometimes we can't see them.
Yeah. 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 I get that. Totally. Totally get that. And so just to put a bow in it, for want of a better phrase, the reason why Portugal was beckoning, what was that pulled you to Portugal? Because I know a lot of the people watching and listening, me included, it's like, well, this fucking country has gone to the fucking dogs. Now, who's to say you move to a different country and it's the same old shit, same old faces and places, because you still took yourself with you, kind of thing.
Yeah,
But everyone's thinking, well, where can I go? Where can I go? It's so dystopian here. It's a bit like when you left Australia. That's how it feels in this country. If you put a meme up, you get 2 years in prison. If somebody,
yeah.
yeah, if somebody rapes a 12-year-old girl, they get nothing. Um, so what took you to Portugal? And is Portugal? I know a lot of spiritual people went to Portugal. There's like some kind of
Mhm.
beckoning there. Is it everything you thought it would be?
I find that very hard to answer because I only just got here 6 weeks ago, and
Oh, so you've been in the Netherlands. I didn't realize
all this
all
time,
that
yeah, yeah, all
time.
this
Oh,
time, yeah,
right.
yeah. I was
Okay.
in the Netherlands for like a year and a half, maybe, or like I wouldn't say stuck. I didn't get stuck there. It was a deliberate choice that I stayed there, but I was there for a while. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay, got you.
So I just got here 6 weeks ago, and all I can say is, like I know what I need in order for me to thrive, and that is nature. Like that's my anchor, that's my groundedness. Like I lived by the ocean for many years, and I know that it keeps me sane. It's my what keeps me happy. Like, and from there, like nourishing myself in that part of myself, I can create so much more. So it's just about finding what nourishes you. It's about finding, and maybe that is living in a city. Like, who knows? Like, if for everyone it's different, but really just find what nourishes you and make that your anchor and do more of it. Like do what makes you feel good and do more of it. Like, there's so many. All these gurus always say these things, and sometimes it takes a little while and some repetition before the penny kind of drops.
Yeah. Okay. So Portugal. I mean, I've been to Portugal a couple of times. It's beautiful. You are on this inner journey, if you like. Do you want to speak into a bit of that and in terms of how plant medicine has worked for you? Because I know, again, a lot of the viewers and listeners will have tried some, maybe some haven't done any, but most of them, most of us will have tried something.
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
yeah, yeah.
so what's your experience been like, and why is it you're so passionate about it, and where are you at with it now?
Yeah, so my journey started with Kambo. This is I actually don't really know how many years ago, but it's quite a few years ago now. I started with Kambo. I had a really, just in short, I had a really bad staph infection, which is a hospital bacteria that just wouldn't leave me. Tried everything, antibiotics, black self, like whatever you can think of. I tried it. And then I had heard someone say Kambo. So I started looking into it and I was like, okay, I'm going to try this. I don't know what it is. To clarify, Kambo is a frog from the Amazon that lives very high up in the trees, and the secretion is used to enter the lymphatic system. And from that, you go into ceremony where you do a big purge and you clean your, I would say, bodily, but also energetic and also emotional container, right? So it's a cleanse process, a pretty heavy detox on cellular level, actually. Also, when it comes to vaccinations and things like this, don't know about the COVID vaccination, by the way. I think there probably would be a lot more research in it now. Um, and that sort of spun me on this whole journey, right? So, and then I could see, like, wow, like, there's so much wrong with our medical system, and it's so not what they told us it is. It's not here to make us better. Like, it is here to make us sick. And the power of the mind, right? Like, the power of the mind is insane. So, if, for example, right, like, this is a big opinion, but I'm just going to put it out there. If someone, for example, has cancer, right, and you go to the doctor and you get the diagnosis, and you have someone there sitting in a white coat, quite like, has authority and, like, is firm and believes in what they believe in. If this person tells you that you only have 6 weeks left to live, there is a part of you in that moment that just gives up and dies, because you've put yourself underneath someone that says that to you. So, what if we create a world where a doctor sees the reality of the diagnosis, right? But actually tells you, you know what? Okay, yeah, there's something there that you need to work on. But if you would look at your exercise, like how you live, what you think, what you consume, then you can get out of that. And I truly believe that's the reality of things. I truly believe, moving back to indigenous wisdom and how much they knew and how connected they are, because everything relates back to nature. All the medication that you can find in the pharmacy comes from nature, but it's not patented, right? So they couldn't make money with it, so they altered it in the way they wanted to alter it, and which is not in our benefit, right? Yeah, and that makes us more sick. So if you look at, like, nature and like what nature has to offer, then we should just trust that, because everything is in such perfect symbiosis with each other. Everything is always in balance. Like, we can learn from that so much, like, and they're so wise, these spirits, when you start working with them and when you start to get to know them, and they so beautifully guide you into your heart, with like so much love and so much compassion and so much kindness for yourself, because you realize that you are that at the end of the day.
So it started with Cambo, and then what's been happening for you with the plant medicine over the last sort of 2 to 3 years?
Yeah, so I deepened my connection with various plant medicines. So Kambo, Rape, Sanenga, San Pedro, ayahuasca. I'm starting to get into Mapacho. Like, I'm getting to know all these different plant medicines. And I've done an amazing plant medicine course, so that I'm finishing up at the end of this month, actually, May or tomorrow. Yeah, the end of May. And it's been a really beautiful journey getting to know more plants and to getting to deepen the connection with the plants. And therefore, when you deepen the connection with the plants, you go deeper within yourself, right? It's natural that that happens. And yeah, that's why I really started learning a lot more about Shoko Bliss, for example. And Shoko Bliss is psilocybin in combination with the kapi vine, and the kapi vine is the non-DMT part of ayahuasca. And so have done journeys with that and facilitation, and it's just such a beautiful process to see someone and to witness someone remember, because that's what it is. Like, you're just remembering who you are beneath it all, and that's the beauty about, yeah, working with the amazing medicine. Like, it's really just a beautiful guide back into your heart. Like, Mother Earth is the feminine energy. It's the hey, I can hold you, come here with me, and I'll cradle you, and you're safe with me. If you allow her to hold you like this, then wow, like, I feel so helped by Mother Earth. That's why I just need to ground myself all the time. And because I'm so grounded, like, when I am grounded, I can also go really high up.
So Has there been one particular episode, ceremony that stood out from all the rest?
No.
No.
No. Every single ceremony, even just sitting in ceremony with Santa Maria, has been profound. Like they all have so many unique, amazing things to offer in as to what they do for you and how they work with you. So it depends on where you are. Like if you feel like your body needs a physical cleanse, then you do Kambo. If you feel really called to sit with Mother Ayahuasca, then you do that. If you don't feel called, and I need to say this super clearly, then you don't feel called. Follow what you feel. Like I think that's the most important thing. Like there's a lot of people that maybe think if they do a ceremony of some sorts, that it's gonna change and heal their lives. And that's just not the truth. Like that's not like they open doors for you, but the work happens after. Like, are you willing to step through the door? Are you willing to face and truly feel in your body, which is physically painful sometimes, to face it? Which is something that I'm still learning to do as well, right? Because I've studied NLP. So I've been very much in the mind and mindset and reframing and stuff. And now I'm really learning, no, 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 like the body is also the feminine. The body is also through the body, not repressing, not making it better, not needing to do anything. No, I don't have to do anything right now. I just need to be and feel.
And so, what would you say, Stephanie, to anyone that's sort of listening and watching at the moment? Maybe I was watching a video. There's a psychic medium here called Nikki Allen. She's quite famous. And she was talking about, the people, especially the empaths and the sensitive people that are really struggling with the physical symptoms. My son included, he was doing so much better and seems to have nosedived again with the panic attacks and these just weird physical symptoms he's getting. And she was talking into, obviously, we just know that how crazy the world is and how the energy is dark light, dark light, dark light, swirl, 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 and just seeing the craziness of everything. And for those sensitive and empathic people, the really sensitive ones, they feel it all. And what would you say to anybody that's sort of sat watching now or listening and feels maybe out on a limb, maybe estranged from loved ones? Maybe that's how it's been because of the crap. Maybe they feel out of their body. Where would you sort of direct them? I know you always say feel into yourself and what feels good, but not everybody has the confidence in themselves
Yeah.
to do that.
Yeah. 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 Well, I would definitely say that first of all, you are so allowed to be where you are, right? Like I think the first thing comes with like, okay, and like a very important reframe that I always make for myself is, and that's because I studied NLP, so I understand language a lot. And for me, an empath is not something that I'd like to, like, I don't like to identify with the word empath. And the reason why that is because for me, it emphasizes someone someone's patheticness, right? So it's really like, oh my God, you're down at this level. Oh my God, I feel what you feel. And oh, this is so horrible. And oh, I'm so overtaken by it now. And now I feel that too. For me, that's not a belief that I hold. I believe that I'm very compassionate. So I have a common passion with someone to work to something greater, which means that because I am compassionate with someone, when I have people around me, and don't get me wrong, I am not always good at that. Like it also depends where I'm at in my own energy. This is why it's important for me to ground and come back to my center, because then I remember again. But it's like, it's you can also say, hey, what if I would be so rooted and anchored, stable in where I am at my energetic frequency? Because energy will always want to level, right? This is what I talk to my clients about all the time. Energy will always want to level, so it doesn't matter where you are at. So instead of like, hey, I'm going to match the energy of the person that is having a really hard time, what if I would consciously say, okay, cool, I feel that, and I'm going to let it go. So there's a few exercises that you can do around this. Like, when I'm going to let it go, it's not mine to carry. I'm letting it go. Who am I? Where I'm standing? Cover myself in a beautiful pyramid of light. Like I have my structures. And thank you, but I'm not taking that on. How about you come and meet me where I'm at? Because I'm actually happy. I feel good. I am okay with where I am. I'm coming into my truth. And if you want to reach me and come to me, that's absolutely amazing. And if you don't, you'll just vibrate out. That's just how it works. You either rise or you vibrate out. You either rise or you vibrate out. And, that also causes, yeah, estrangement from family members because, of course, like you're starting to understand that everything is energy. And, it's not about needing to save anyone. It's not about like needing to make other people's lives better, like it's about them choosing themselves. And you can only sort of do that if you also choose you, because your internal reality is being reflected back to you in your external reality. That's why you can see the people that you attract are great indicators of where you are at in your internal process. Like your external environment is a complete reflection of your internal life. So if your external is turbulent and chaotic, that's because it's just a representation of what that's like inside of yourself, and that needs addressing.
Yeah.
That's the inner child, like the unhealed, inner child. And like that's been a very big topic in my journey as well over the last 9 months. The unhealed inner child, like how much beneath the anger that I've worked through, there's so much sadness there, there's so much aloneness. And I've really learned how to befriend my inner child, and to see her for what she is. And I think it's such important work, like to also tend to, hey, what happened to us here in this plane, like the little children in us, like the human side of us that is feeling all these emotions and feelings. And when you're really tapped in and tuned in, you can also understand that, hey, that's also really beautiful that I get to experience this, because in this now, in the paradox, I can also see my strength.
Yeah. Is there a particular medicine you would recommend as a very gentle place to be for somebody that's maybe not stepped into this yet?
Yeah, so I currently am running a container called Mindful Microdose, and it's just with like little microdoses of psilocybin. It's a 6 week journey, and it's really beautiful because it's super subtle. Like it's not anything overwhelming. Like you don't notice anything different really, but you start to become aware of some thoughts that you have, or you start to become aware of, oh my God, my body is actually feeling like this. So it just heightens your perspective a little bit. And what it actually does is that it opens up certain neurological pathways that were closed before. So a certain way of thinking all of a sudden becomes a bit different, because all of a sudden there's a new pathway that's being, you can access. So it helps you rewire that, and it stops the DNM network from constantly having this ba 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 this voice, and it stops that a little bit, which is great. So then the voice, the negative talk stop, then you can hear yourself a little bit clearer. You can hear yourself a little bit louder, the voice that is truly you, the voice of trust and the voice of expansion and the voice of love and the voice of consciousness comes out a little bit more, but ever so subtle. And because of that, what the microdose does is that it very, very subtly shows you patterns, what you've been looping, where you were stuck, and as soon as you have awareness around something, you can do something about it. But it's a beautiful journey that you can just gently take yourself on, that in the long term has lots of benefits, right? Because doing a full blown ceremony also takes a lot from you when it comes to integration. So you don't always feel like you are stable enough maybe to do that, like, or stable enough to come out of that again, but with microdosing, it's a very different way. Like it's a very gentle, nourishing, soft, playful, the mushrooms are the children, so they're a bit more playful. It's not so serious. Like it's a beautiful way to start your journey, it's a beautiful way to maybe start your journey with, for example, plant medicine.
Yeah. Yeah, cool. And you mentioned Santa Maria, that's marijuana, yeah?
Yeah, exactly.
So what's your thoughts? Obviously, you use it as a ceremony and as a plant medicine. And I had a previous guest on, Jason Christoph, who is he's got a massive following and he's very much about mind control. He's been in the betterment movement for over 25 years. He's taken himself out for I don't know how long, because he's kind of had enough and he's a bit old and not old. God, he's not old. I hope he's not watching this. But jaded, you know what I mean, in terms of all the stuff. And also he's fearful that, he's very much focusing on the fear that his audience, if they were psyoped, could turn against him in a heartbeat almost.
But you know what the sorry to say something about that. What really is interesting to me is that, once you start becoming aware that it actually doesn't matter what side of the camp you're on, right? It doesn't matter actually. As long as you focus on fear, you're right where they need you to be.
Yeah.
It's a frequency that you're tapping into and tuning into, right? So I think what we should do, instead of like focusing on the fearful side of things, let's start shifting that perspective and start focusing on all the amazing things that are currently happening out there for so many people that are so awake. But whoever controls the perception, whoever controls the media controls the perception, right? We don't know that. But what I do know is the people that I, in my daily life, run into, talk to, speak to, is that there's so much more people out there than they portray in the media that think alike, you know? And
Yeah.
of course, there's also many people out there that are really still, you know, on the other side of the split. And that's okay, you know, as long as we open our eyes to the fact that there's, you know, like tech is changing, like there's so much happening. Russia, Ukraine, America, like, you know, we just had a power outing, like I think the other day here,
I was
where the
going to
whole
ask you
power is
about
out.
that. Yeah, I was going to ask you.
Yeah, mayhem, of course, in the supermarkets, because you know you are fear indoctrinated that you know it might be really bad, and then all of a sudden everyone spends a lot of money and buys all these things, and da supermarkets are happy again because okay, and realistically it could be right that it maybe is out for a longer time. So it's really interesting how it sort of puts things back into perspective, like okay, you know, the thing that we are fearing altogether, right, we are creating that, and we can only create our own different reality. And for me, you know, when I think about living off the grid, I can much more easily find it here in Portugal than I can find it in the Netherlands, in Amsterdam, you know. So in here there's a lot of communities, and still I have to dive in that, I have to, you know, research and do all the things, and I'm trusting that I'll meet the right people at the right time and all the things. um but
Yeah.
there's many people here off the grid when it comes to that stuff. So, you know, focus on the people that are like-minded and keep lighting each other's light and focus on the good.
So yeah, I totally agree with you. He made a reference to drugs in general. He used to be a big cocaine and alcohol addict when he was
Yeah,
younger, and he doesn't drink at all now and doesn't do anything. But he was basically saying marijuana is not good, right? And I know that viewers and listeners, certainly the viewers of this channel, they like their marijuana.
yeah.
So what would you say to that? Because he basically said, it's just all of that sort of stuff is just not good.
Well, first of all, I think that it's very important to distinct between plant medicine and, for me, hard drugs, right? So if you look at, for example, cocaine, that is not pure medicine. That's definitely not how nature intended it to be. The coca leaves are, though. Like coca leaves without all the petrol that they put in it, like without the whole chemical process that fucks with the whole energy of the plant, right? So they've sort of domesticated it in a way where it actually doesn't do anything good for you anymore. And then the spirit of that plant, same with smoking cigarettes, you know, nicotina is a spirit and she's freaking strong and powerful, you know, and a lot of people can't, they're just, you know, intertwined with it, and a lot of people don't go well on it. But there's also plenty of, in the Amazon everyone smokes mapacho, which is tobacco, you know, just not inhaled, but it's a beautiful spirit, does something entirely different. So same with alcohol. If you look into, there's great videos on this on YouTube, if you look into the spiritual meaning of the word alcohol, it leads back to Hebrew, and it leads back to mind eating spirits, and that's why they're called spirits, right? So you know, when you inhibit alcohol, the spirit of alcohol enters your system, right? You basically open yourself up, this is what I believe anyway, you basically open yourself up as a channel for a lot of dark spirits
Right.
that want to come through you. And that's why a lot of people have very bad drunk. And don't get me wrong, some people take one or two glasses and they're, you know, more themselves, because they also called it the truth serum, you know, back in the days. But in general, like something that is so heavily genetically modified with, you know, it's not necessarily good, I don't think. And if you compare that to, for example, marijuana, which is grown naturally. So I smoked a lot of that in Australia, which is where I started having the connection with the spirit of marijuana, where there's no pesticides being used. There's no, you know, stuff sprayed on them. Like it's just how nature intended it to be. And it's a very different experience. It's a very different energy. And I actually had a beautiful conversation with someone about that yesterday. Like the people that are making this medicine, whatever medicine that is, right? Like their energy is weaved into and intertwined into their the thing that you take, you know. So nature obviously has so much love, but like when you look at all the laboratories where, or all these like, you know, coca plantations, like with all these guns and like cartels, and like that's an energy that you're taking in that is just so not okay. And I know this because my dad has been a cocaine addict his whole life, you know. He's still an addict, and I've seen firsthand and witnessed firsthand how it just sort of killed his spirit off, you know. Like, and he's there, like of course he's there, but it's done a lot of harm to his brain and a lot of harm to his body.
So, so marijuana, in your opinion, used in the right way, is
Absolutely.
is good and natural.
Marijuana, but also, yeah, and also psilocybin, you know, also psilocybin, like when your intention is everything behind everything. Your intention is everything behind everything. Like this is how you intentionally create your reality. Like your intention is everything. If you, for example, right, I believe the mind is so strong and powerful that if you were to smoke a cigarette every day, but you would program yourself that that would make you healthy, then you probably could make yourself healthy smoking
Yeah,
cigarettes, you know, if you
yeah,
take it that far, which is, you know, super out there. But like, I truly believe that that's how powerful we are. And
yeah,
we are made to forget that this is our power. We're made to forget that we are so in tune with each other. Like we can channel, we can, you know, be guided by something greater than ourselves. Like we are capable of so much. We just believe that we can't, you know, and you see little glitches here and there. Like for example, I am quite aware of when someone thinks of me, for example, and I know that when I think of someone else, they also think about me in that moment in time, because like that is how we are all wired and linked together.
yeah,
So you know, that's why it's super beautiful to trust the little nuggets that you get and just follow that, you know.
yeah, totally. Okay, cool. Well, there'll be a lot of people going, yay.
That's good.
Um, so you mentioned obviously the ceremonies, the silo from psilocybin. Is that have I got
Psilocybin, yeah.
psilocybin? I keep saying silo. Um, what else? If people were interested in reaching out to you and doing some work or just having a conversation, where's the best place for them to go, and what are you offering at the moment?
So the best place would probably be my Instagram, Travel Wild Roots. And currently, I'm offering the mindful microdose that will be restarted again in the beginning of June. So the new 6 week container is starting if they would be interested in that. I'm also looking now at like starting my online yoga classes back up because it's so close to my heart and it's such an important part of, you know, coming into your body. And it's where it all starts, like really coming home. So I'm currently in the process of doing that. And yeah, I am offering Kambo ceremonies and breath work. And I've got a grounding and clarity ceremony, which is also online doable. So I've got a few offerings happening at the moment. But I think it's just most important that the people listening to this, that they are really just taking a moment first to tune in with themselves and really ask themselves, what do they need? Because maybe it's not plant medicine, you know, maybe they need a lot of work around their room space, or they need a lot of work around, you know, whatever it might be for them. And I really just want to put it out there that I really would love to attract other people that are so on a similar path, you know, like people that have the heart for the plants, like people that understand a little bit more about how they work, you know, how they work and are open to experience what it is like to work with the plants and what it could mean for them, you know, and whatever that first step might be, let's have a conversation and, you know, we'll see where that leads us and where that takes us, because they all do something so different, you know, so it's really about what is it that you need, and I can just offer something that is really, you know, tailored, like maybe it's just a one-off session, you know, like I'm super open at the moment. Like this is part of like the story where I'm at as well at the moment, you know, like I am open to let myself be taken wherever I need to be taken, and that includes in the rebirth part of like where I'm at now in my business, you know, like there's so many different things that I'm currently doing and offering, and I am just now letting it up to the universe and up to the people that want to tune into me and want to learn from me what that actually is that is needed right now, you know. And
Yeah,
I truly believe that sharing my own authentic truth, like where I'm at right now, and that life is not all, you know, it's not all beautiful, and it is hard and it is difficult, and it's sometimes so extremely exhausting to pick yourself up again, you know. And sometimes you just feel like, oh my God, I'm just so tired of fighting. I'm so tired in this world. Like, what's the point, you know? Like, and I have those moments too. Trust me, I do. I do. But I also understand that that's also the beauty of life. Like, if I won't be able to, you know, hold the lowest of the low, I also won't be able to hold the highest of the high. And this is where people that are, for example, on antidepressants and stuff like that, like they flatline, right? Like they don't go up, they don't go down, they just like in the middle. And I would just say also to these people, you know, like start connecting with who you truly are, and you'll figure out that you actually don't need that, and that you can, in the highest highs, you know, you truly feel the pieces and the moments of what this life is about, like the little stints of happiness that you can so create for yourself, even in the darkest times. This is what it's all about. Like this is about, you know, you uplifting yourself, like surrounding yourself with people that make you feel good, you know, like be the light for other people in the darkness, you know, and let that fuel you as well. Like step out of the I can't, step into the okay, but what if I could? What do I want? Like, there we go again. What do I want? Because the moment you have clarity on what it is that you want, and you can only do that from a grounded place, connected to yourself, you can truly know what it is that you truly want. That's when you create it. Feminine energy, you magnetically attract it. Aligned action, masculine energy needs to be a balance, and the feminine has the upper hand slightly because we are feminine, right?
Yeah.
And it's more about surrendering and less about control.
Totally. Yeah. Trying to do that myself, and kind of having to mostly.
Yeah,
Okay, cool. So best place is Instagram, to reach out, have a chat. It's been wonderful reconnecting. I knew it would be, and
yeah.
your backdrop is amazing, and I'm so happy for the journey that you're still taking, and your beautiful glowing lot. Just how your demeanor, which is exactly how you were last time, and you are a real light to the world. So thank you very much. And final words, Stephanie, before you go.
Final words is, as long as we see the light in each other, everything is going to be okay. We just need to choose to see the light in the other and remind them of it if they forget. And then, in this way, I truly believe that we will rise and we will come out of this and we will elevate consciousness, whatever you want to call it, right? Everyone has a different word for it. At the end of the day, it doesn't matter. Like, you can transcend in your own reality and you can attract the people in that reality and you can choose to be happy even when everything falls to shit around you. This is where it comes back to enter your center. Oh, by the way, that's a beautiful program that I'm offering. That is a really long 3-month container where we go super deep. um, Also, everything is in my link in bio. But yeah, it's really about energetically aligning yourself with what it is that you want to create in the external and not getting rid, but integrating back in what needs to be looked at with so much love, like all this shadow work. And, I think as long as we keep doing that and we keep seeing the light in each other, we are going to be just fine.
Agreed. Thank you. Well, thank you again for your time today. It's been an absolute pleasure to see you again, and I know the audience are going to love this. So thank you very much.
Yay, that's awesome.